What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got a review of an interesting knife from We Knives. This is the We Roxi. Really awesome looking blade shape on this. I really like Wharncliffe blades, especially here recently. So this was one that I was drawn to immediately the first time having, seen it. And I also enjoyed the fact that it has the forward choil and that it's kind of a smaller knife. We're going to get into all that, but first, as usual, we're going to go ahead and get some measurements here. We're zoomed way up today, which might be something that I start experimenting with. These are the last couple of months I'm going to have this phone. I'm going to upgrade soon, so hopefully the camera quality gets better, but I'm not sure exactly where I want my zoom. We're going to try it like this, see what people think. So anyways, overall length on this guy, I can get it as accurate as I can. It looks to be almost exactly 6.5 inches overall. Yeah, maybe just shy of 6.5 inches. How about the blade length? Blade length, just over 2.5 inches. However, the cutting edge is just also slightly over 2.5 inches. Maybe 2.6, 2.65, something like that. How about some size comparisons? I'll move this down here so we can get an accurate size comparison, or at least fit all of these knives on camera. The Ontario Rat Model 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about the Spyderco Paramilitary 2? PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about the Spyderco Mannix 2? For no other reason than me wanting to show off my new copper scales. Mannix 2 coming in at 8 inches overall. Really cool. Really liking the copper scales, by the way. I mean, this knife weighs like, what does it weigh? Like 8.5 ounces? I can't remember what I weighed it at the other day. It's crazy, but I like it too much to not carry it, so whatever. How about the Benchmade Griptilian? Actually, in this case, the Hogue Ritter coming in at 8 inches overall. I could use the Benchmade Griptilian for size comparisons, but when I get new knives that I really like, I like to kind of switch them out. And last but not least, the Spyderco Delica coming in at 7 inches overall. So we're closest to the Spyderco Delica, but it is shorter than the Delica. I want people to keep that in mind, because this knife I was convinced was actually longer than it is, despite knowing that it was about 6.5 inches overall. So this is a short knife. It's a little tank, and it's kind of chubby, but it's definitely a short knife. Let's go ahead and weigh it here. Get my scale down. Can't see my logo, but that's okay. You really just need to see the weight. 3.77 ounces. 3.81 ounces. So it's a little over 3.25 ounces by my scale. Under that 4-ounce mark that most people use to judge whether or not a knife is carryable. Me personally, I think that's ridiculous. I know a lot of you also will go ounce by total blade length or knife length. I don't know. Whatever your gauge is, that's what it weighs. I think it's pretty reasonable for everyday carry. Let's go ahead and do the paper cut test. As usual, this is not a definitive paper cut test. It's really just designed to give you an example of the edge right out of the box. What I like to do is take a pass of the PM2 and then a pass of the knife in question and just compare the two so you guys know how slicey it feels. That was me doing quotes and not quite getting my finger in frame. Okay, PM2, extremely slicey as usual. How about the Roxi? Yeah, there's some resistance there, but a lot of that I think has to do with the fact that the blade is quite thick. I think it's probably about as thick. Looks to be maybe a little bit thicker than the PM2, and the fact that there's no belly on a Wharncliffe blade, so it's a little, you're not really like dragging the curvature of the blade through the material. You're more pressing a wedge into the material at whatever angle you're cutting into. I'm not a professional on edge geometry, so don't take my word seriously. I think that's what it is. It feels about 65-70% the PM2. It definitely cuts. It's definitely sharp, and the blade itself would serve you well in an EDC scenario. It's going to cut regular stuff. Moving on here, let's talk about the anatomy of the knife and the materials and things. You know what? I am 99% sure that this is S35VN. And you know what? I've got the box right here. Let's just take a look at it. It's probably not going to say. Oh, wait. No, you know what, guys? It's M390. Sorry about that. I should have made sure that I knew that before I started the video. But here's the box. Gray titanium handle, stonewashed finish, Bowler M390 blade. So this is M390, and that's pretty cool. So the finish on the blade and the scales, just like you saw in the box, on this one is the stonewash, or it's kind of a matte stonewash. There's not really any reflectivity. It's close to bead blast, but I wouldn't call it bead blast. It's actually closer to Rick Hinder's working finish, just with a finer scratch finish, not quite as aggressive. You have a fuller up here, which really looks nice. This blade is just awesome. I love how this blade looks. It's really cool. Look down the front of it. Oh, it looks like some sort of medieval weapon. I really, really like that. The swedge up top looks really nice. There's jimping back here. It's pretty aggressive. It's definitely going to mark your thumb up. Give you an example. You can see there it's really going to mark your thumb up, definitely. Handle scales look nice. The lines of this knife, they really do well together. This knife is very well designed in terms of aesthetics. It's very nice to look at. It just makes you want to grab it and touch it. You know, it's really cool, especially with the bronzed hardware that you're seeing on there. Moving down to the handle, actually. I didn't mention it, but we have a forward choil there that actually does. It doesn't look like your whole finger is going to fit in there, but it actually does. It's pretty comfortable. Moving down to the frame, you can see there the lines around the outside, just sort of giving it this sort of futuristic style look. Kind of looks like something out of the Halo games. Somebody else had mentioned that in my comment section about another knife. This is definitely a knife that makes me think of the Halo games. The hardware back here has been bronzed, and that looks really, really nice. I don't know if my camera is going to allow me to zoom up. Yeah, this is why I wanted to zoom up, because I can get better definition up close like this. On the inside, there's no milling. There are relief cuts for your thumb, which is nice. You can get in there. The back part of the knife here, it's got a lanyard slot, which works really well, or looks like it would probably work really well. The backspacer, I love. I love that it's just a little bit different tone than the rest of the knife. It's almost got kind of a bronzy look, but it's not really, well, it kind of is. It's really, really dark compared to the rest of the frame, but it's a different bronze than the handle screws and the hardware if it is bronze. The pocket clip is just amazing. I love how that pocket clip looks. It functions pretty well. It's all right. It's nothing crazy special. It does its job, but really cool. The pocket clip itself actually looks like the blade of a sword, and I really like that. Huge fan of the aesthetics of the pocket clip. You do have a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop for the knife, and then the adjustment side, or the non-show side of the pivot, has also been nicely bronzed. You just have that Wii logo there that's about the same color and tint as the backspacer. Really, really cool. Knife runs on bearings and it does not have an internal stop pin. The stop pin's actually right there. The action is really good. It does flip reliably for being such a stout, fat little blade. Let's try and this is about straight up to me. See, it'll do it just fine, whether you're using, the wrong finger or what. And then the fuller on the blade, I got this to do this earlier. Yeah, there we go. You can use it to reverse flick it, and if you're extremely talented, such as myself, I'm saying that sarcastically. It's actually kind of hard to flip with your thumb or the reverse flick, but you can definitely do it. It is a fidgety knife. It's fun in that sense. Definitely has some medium fidget factor there, and it's really, really cool looking. Those are my favorite things about this knife. Let's move on here to ergonomics. So as far as the way that this is shaped, in terms of where your fingers are going to fall naturally, there's not a lot of room back here. In fact, there's barely room for 3 fingers. You've got the 2 up here that are locked in. This one back here on this part that's going to kind of slide down this ramp, but you can hold it like this if you want. I prefer to just hold it like this in the choked up position. As far as control, what I'm feeling right here, this feels great in terms of how well I'm locked in. So I kind of like knives that have a short little blade that I can lock into. It really feels like a small utility knife right here. So I think this knife would best be suited for continuous box cutting. Now the problem with that, and that's just in design and my idea of function on this knife. The materials are great, the action's great. I love how it looks. I love the hand position locking in. The problem is, in my opinion, this thing is loaded with hot spots. Everything is sharp. The jimping is sharp. The edges all the way around. In some places are chamfered, but the flipper tab itself is really pointy out here on this side and on this side. So it really kind of hurts to flip it. Back here on the pocket clip, that point right there, that point, that point, that point, flipping it kind of, where your hand kind of moves around a little bit. I'm catching it down here with this finger while I'm bracing to flip it. Back here, it's a little bit pointy. The inside of this is a little bit sharp right there. The whole thing is right here, also 1, 2. It's rounded off, but just not enough. And it's got, for me, I mean, right here, you're locked in, and if you're going to do continuous cutting, you're going to be okay for a little bit. It's not the worst thing in the entire world. In fact, for a lot of you, you'll be able to overlook those hot spots just for, how cool the knife is. But I want to make it known, it really does have a lot of hot spots, and the biggest one is on the flipper tab. It really kind of hurts. Ouch. Honestly, it really kind of hurts to flip that knife. And my hands aren't sensitive. I mean, you can see here, my hands are loaded up with calluses, both left and right, and they go all the way up my hands. So, my hands are no stranger to hard work, and honestly, it still kind of hurts, and it would get annoying after a little bit. Sitting around and flipping this knife on the couch, which is not really anything that has to do with using a knife, but we all do it. It really started to hurt after just like 15 minutes. So it will become bothersome. Absolutely. Now there's only one other thing about this knife that bothers me, and I'm hesitant to talk about it because it's not something that's typical of WE knives. My experience with WE knives, I just want to say this, is that their fit and finish is excellent. Their function is excellent. They build quality knives. And for the most part, that is the case. So I don't know if I've got one here. By the way, I didn't buy this. This was provided directly by WE Knives for the pass-around group that I'm involved with. So I don't know if this is just a flaw with this one. I'm inclined to believe that this is kind of an anomaly and that not all of them are like this. So I would say, I'm going to point this out, but don't let it keep you from purchasing this knife if you really love how this knife looks. It might just be a problem with this one. This particular one, you can see it locks up, at a reasonable point there. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to focus in. Come on now. Everybody's itching to find out what the heck I'm talking about, and I can't focus. Okay, so it locks up at a reasonable point, looks to be about 25, maybe 30%. Left and right, absolutely solid, no blade play. Up and down, though, I don't know if you guys can hear that click. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It's got a little bit of lock rock, and that's usually a lock geometry issue. Usually, you've got the steel tang in contact with, in this case, the steel lock bar insert. Like I said, it's probably not an issue with all of them. It is a little bit of an issue with this one. I tried to adjust the pivot ever so slightly to see if it would go away. This has to go on to another reviewer, so I didn't want to make any crazy adjustments. But either way, it wasn't coming out of there, and I don't want to mess with it anymore. So unfortunately, that's an issue with this one. I really like how this knife looks. I think it will probably, if you decide to overlook the hot spots and go ahead and purchase this knife, it's probably going to serve you just fine. And yours will probably not have the lock rock issue that this one does. But the hot spots for me kind of kill it, and it kind of takes the fun and the joy away from me. I really like knives that, I can depend on as tools that are easy in and out of the pocket, that look nice, that are fun to use, and just all the way around bring me a sense of joy. And a great example of knives like that for me are the Manix 2. And yes, I'm taking another opportunity to show off those scales. And the new Ritter Hogue. I love those knives all the way around. and there are no hot spots on them. You know, if there were, it would take a chunk of that joy away from me. The Roxi has a lot of the stuff that I really like, some crazy aesthetics, you know, great flipping action, amazing materials, M390 and titanium, you know, check, check, check. In this case, a nice kind of cement finished titanium both on the blade and frame, and it's got some nice bronzed hardware. I truly love how it looks, but those hot spots kill it for me. So unfortunately, it's not going to be on my most recommended list, but I still think it's a cool knife. And, you know, for those of you who are interested enough to check it out for yourself, don't let me stop you from doing that. You know, you guys should still pull the trigger on things that you think might make you happy. But I wanted to give fair warning to anybody who's considering purchasing this knife. So in any case, that's going to be pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you would like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.